In the movie Last Tango in Paris, there is a scene towards the end of the film where Marlon Brando uses butter as a lubricant to rape his co-star Maria Schneider. So an interview came out in 2013, but it's resurfaced recently with the director of the movie, Bernardo Bertolucci, in which he says that Maria actually didn't consent to the filming of the scene before they shot it. Give you a little bit more context on this. Maria was 19 years old when they shot the movie. Marlon Brando was 48 years old. And in this interview that was on a Dutch TV show called College Tour, Bertolucci says, "But I've been, in a way, horrible to Maria because I didn't tell her what was going on, because I wanted her reaction as a girl, not as an actress. I wanted her to react humiliated." And again, this isn't news, but it has resurfaced. In 2009, Maria Schneider spoke openly about the incident with the Daily Mail. She says, "They only told me about it before we had to film the scene, and I was so angry. I should have called my agent or had my lawyer come to the set because you can't force someone to do something that isn't in the script. But at the time, I didn't know that. Marlon said to me, 'Maria, don't worry, it's just a movie.' But during the scene, even though what Marlon was doing wasn't real, I was crying real tears. I felt humiliated, and to be honest, I felt a little raped by both Marlon and Bertolucci." The scene actually wasn't in the script, but it was Marlon Brando's idea. He thought of it while he was eating a baguette the morning that they shot with the director, Bertolucci. The reason why this has resurfaced again, because this again is not news.
Tell the story.
What?
Of how the baguette factors into it. He says they were having breakfast, and he says it's so creepy. He's like, we're having breakfast, and Marlon and I both looked at the baguette, looked at the butter, looked at each other, and we didn't even have to say it. We knew what that scene needed, which was to him to take the butter, rub it on her.
Yeah.
Like pervy dudes having
gross.
breakfast. That's the new show. That's the show that was from.
Anyway, so this is resurfaced because a Spanish nonprofit called El Mundo de Alicia wanted to use it for a November blog post for the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. And since this has come out, for some reason, now it's stuck. So this came out in 2013. Maria spoke about this in 2007, but now it's set the Twitterverse abuzz. Evan Rachel Wood said, "This is heartbreaking and outrageous. The two of them are very sick individuals to think that was okay." Jessica Chastain says, "To all the people that love this film, you're watching a 19-year-old get raped by a 48-year-old man. The director planned her attack. I feel sick." Now, obviously, she indicates that she was not really raped, but that she did feel raped, and that she did not consent to the scene before they shot it. Chris Evans says, "Wow, I will never look at this film, Bertolucci or Brando, the same way again. This is beyond disgusting." And we wish that we could have a comment from Schneider, but she actually died in 2011 at the age of 58 after struggling with mental illness and addiction. And Bertolucci, who is now 76, has yet to surface after all this stuff has come out again to comment, but who knows, maybe he will in the coming days, because they are rightfully so getting a lot of shit for what went down. And I for one, Brett, was surprised that that this hadn't really caught on before, that this hadn't stuck before.
Yeah, that happens in Hollywood. In Hollywood, it's this weird, well, it's just kind of that way discussion. Mm-hmm. There are things out there like Roman Polanski's statutory rape and attempted extradition to the States so he can still face charges. And then there's the talk about there's this secret sex ring that's going on behind the scenes of Hollywood where a bunch of young boys are victimized by really wealthy producers. And this is tagged up to one of those. And it's that thing where it's sad, and it's been talked about on this show, where in Hollywood, people kind of have to do, or they feel, or they're presented with the fact that they have to do certain things to be successful. And it made her wildly successful. And she says she couldn't really handle it after that. Mm-hmm. A mix of all these weird feelings about what she did to be catapulted into the spotlight. Looking back, she didn't know there were alternatives, and that's adds to the tragedy.
Yeah, and I think she points that out in her statement from the Daily Mail, where she says, "I didn't know that if something is not in the script, you don't have to shoot it." You know, if she'd known better, she might have, because this was, I don't know if this was her first role, but it was definitely early on in her career.
Yeah, this was the one that made
Yeah,
her.
this was her break, but I think that she'd done a couple things before Last Tango in Paris.
She said she made 50 films after this, and this was the only one anyone talked about.
It's true. Well, absolutely. I think that it's one of Marlon Brando's most well-known movies. People know about Last Tango in Paris. I remember watching it in a film studies class, And I think that it's celebrated for its realism. You know, it's so real, it's so gritty. And you and I were talking a little bit before we went to tape about every once in a while there comes along like a sex movie. There's a sex movie of every decade, it seems, that we all celebrate because this is real sex. This is raw. This is gritty. And what I hate about this story is the dark underbelly that you kind of sense when you watch it is true. It ended up being real, that they weren't respecting this actress.
His argument is, yeah, it's real because it's art and it's awesome. And this is what I want. He said, I feel guilty about what I did, but I don't regret it. Mm-hmm. So he'll say to you, you know, that eerie feeling that you feel, it's because we did things, we made choices that heightened the feeling of realism. Two things. One, what you're doing is the same thing as a director saying, you know what would make the Human Torch look more like a guy on fire? Lighting a guy on fire. That's what we did. We didn't tell him we were going to light him on fire. We just decided we were going to light him on fire. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. And two, it reminds me of a story with Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, which I've told before. Marathon Man is about a guy who runs marathons. Laurence Olivier is a famous actor. Like, you know, he's every Shakespeare movie in black and white that you watched because you didn't want to read the play, he's in it. Dustin Hoffman put rocks in his shoes so he could feel what it was like to be a marathon runner and have all the pain in your feet. And Laurence Olivier looks at him and goes, have you tried acting? Like, director guy, you know what would prove you're an awesome director is if you could get that kind of realism out of actors without having to rape them. Like, that would make you a better director. Mm-hmm. Have you tried directing?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's a huge issue. So yes, you did get what you wanted. Mm-hmm. It's illegal. Like, you raped her. So here's all the recognition about the realism in your movie, which could be better if you didn't have to rape someone for it. But also, oh, you just admitted that you kind of raped this woman. I mean, there's no kind of. She says, I felt a little raped. They did not actually have sex, but he did rub butter on her and pin her down. Mm-hmm. So she didn't want to do that. That's it. So yeah, you should, face consequences for that. Also, the movie, we were talking also that the movie doesn't hold up for shit. It's like not a good movie.
No, it doesn't. And I think that, I don't know. I think that what makes me feel gross about this is that she had been speaking about it and that this was common knowledge. And when stories like this, because I hadn't heard about it until this, I saw it on Twitter trending a couple days ago. I hate that there are these things in Hollywood, in the industry, that are just known that no one really feels a need to correct or to address or to justify because it feels like the forces that you'd be going against are insurmountable. The powers that be are just, you can't best them because they run the town. What are you gonna do? And that makes me feel helpless and hopeless and sad. And it makes me feel sad that she died, Maria Schneider died before she could see all these really acclaimed actresses and directors, Ava DuVernay took to Twitter as well, just sort of recognizing her pain and suffering because she was doing these interviews and it didn't feel like anyone was listening, and that sucks.
Anna Kendrick knew. Anna Kendrick was like,
yeah, that's true.
She's like, yeah, people have known about this. The same as the Hannibal Buress, if you can watch episodes of 30 Rock where Tina Fey talks about Bill Cosby, like before this, before Hannibal Buress brought it up and made the Bill Cosby thing an issue. And that's having worked in Hollywood for a decade. It's like, it's not even like we can't overcome this. It's just like you don't think about it because it's kind of a given. Like that's even worse. It's not like, oh gosh, these forces are so overwhelming. It's that like the fart doesn't stink anymore because you're just used to it.
Oh, that makes me feel gross, though, especially with the fart reference.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Hey, guys, we want to hear from you in the comment section below. What did you think about this story, Last Tango in Paris? Had you heard about this before? What is something that we can do that we should look towards in the future to make sure that stories like this don't get buried? Let us know in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time on Pop Culture.